Hi everyone, tervetuloa, welcome to EqualiTech. First, I would just like to confirm that you can hear me, so if someone could confirm that in the chat, so we can get started. Kuuluuko? Yes. So, my name is Tiia-Maria Kinnula, and I'm the current chairperson of VES. VES is also called the Vaasa Entrepreneurship Society, and one of our goals is to encourage young people to pursue entrepreneurship, but also to find their other passions in life. That's also why we are here today.
Yeah, and good morning, everyone. My name is Karita Vuokkanen-Rapetino, and I work in a VEPIC research platform at the University of Vaasa. VEPIC stands for Vaasa Energy Business Innovation Center, and our goal is to boost sustainable energy transition and innovation through multidisciplinary research projects.
And we are your hosts for today. And even though both Karita and I come from business backgrounds, we both work with and among different fields of tech. That is also why it's very important for us to be here today and to help you see the different opportunities that tech has to offer.
Yeah, tech field is very broad and it may raise many questions, especially if you don't know anyone who has studied in tech field or who is professional in a tech field. And for example, some of you may think that what the actual jobs in tech field are, or how a regular working day of a tech professional looks like. Some of you maybe also might be a bit worried about the fact that would I feel comfortable to study in tech field or to work in tech field because it's rather male dominated. It's totally normal to think about those issues, and we hope that today we are able to provide you some answers on that issues as well.
Yes, but why are we here today? So one of the reasons for organizing this event is that when it comes to fields in tech, we still need more diversity, and that also means more women in tech. This is not only important to us personally, but for companies around the world. Why? Because it has been shown that diversity and inclusion have huge impacts for the business results as well. Just take a look at these facts now presented. So for example, companies that are diverse outperform their peers with a 21% likelihood if it's just for gender equality. If we go further and there's even more diversity, the percentage goes up. When it comes to teams perform better than individuals and make better decisions. And the percentage for that is quite high, but not all teams perform alike. So if we compare different kinds of teams, we see that all male teams, for example, get better results 58% of the time. But if we add gender diversity, the percentage goes up to 73%. If there's even more diversity with different age groups, fields of study, and even cultures, this is even higher, as high as 87%. So there really is a difference. The teams with inclusive process also make decisions faster with half the meeting times. But there's still more. So when employees believe that there are inclusive processes and they feel that they have equal opportunities in the workplace, they are 3 times more likely to recommend their employer. They're 3 times more likely to stay at the same employment for longer. And they're also 3 times more likely to say that they are happy with their careers.
So, but what tech has to provide for you? Tech field is very versatile and it opens up many different kinds of career opportunities for the people who has technical education. Different kind of job opportunities or tasks range from design and research and development related tasks to many different kind of managerial roles. Technical students also seems to be very satisfied with their education, that even 92% of the university graduate technical students would choose the technical field again. And I need to say that this is very high percentage. Also, the job opportunities for recently graduated tech students are very high. And according to recent studies, 66% of the students have work when they graduate. Also, we could highlight that the salary for the recently graduated young professionals is very compelling. So there are many benefits, but still only 1/4 of the tech students are women.
And that also means that there are less women working in tech. But before we get started, we have a request for you. So this is the pre-event survey that we would love all of you to take. This was sent in the pre-information package for those who pre-registered yesterday. So if you did this already, you can chill for a bit. But if you still haven't done it, please take a moment to do this now. It only takes a minute. You can use the QR code and read it with your phone, or you can go to the Zoom chat link, post it now. You can also just write the short address in your browser. Why is this important? Because we want to gather your thoughts of the event, both after and before the event. And also you have a chance to win a gift card worth of 250 euros to an electronics store of your choosing. So be active and you might get rewarded for this. But while some of you are still doing that, I would also like to take a moment to give you instructions on how you can participate today. So there are a few ways you can take part in today's event if you have any questions or comments. During the speeches, you have the chance to ask questions in the Zoom chat, or you can use menti.com. There's a code posted now in the chat and also in the slide. So if you use that code, you can post questions anonymously, so you don't have to have any pressure about your name showing up. We will take a few of these questions after each speaker and see what they have to say. And if one question is left unanswered, we will get back to you after the event. So there are no stupid questions, there's no dumb questions here. So be active and you have a great chance to find out more about different fields of tech today. But hopefully you have now had the chance to fill this. Of course, if you are still filling it in your phone or in your computer, you can continue doing that during the next slide as well. But let's take a short look at the schedule. So this is the general frame for today. You don't have to remember what's happening. We will keep you posted. But we have a few speakers. We have a short break after the first speeches, and then we will divide into breakout rooms. Those who pre-registered have selected their top choices, and you will be transferred to the rooms based on those. I would like to ask you also that during the break, please don't log out of Zoom. It is easier if you keep the program open, but you can of course mute it or put it in pause in your laptop in that sense. But yes, we are estimating that the program will end at 12:15. So let's see what we have up next and give the stage to our speakers. All of them will present different fields and maybe give you some inspiration.
Okay, I think that it's time to introduce our first speaker, Niina Aagaard. Niina works as a Chief Operation Officer in Nordic Innovation, and she had a wide experience from governmental and private sectors. So stage is yours, Niina.
Thank you. God morgon och tack för att jag får lov till att vara med. Huomenta ja kiitos, että saan olla mukana. Good morning. So my name is Niina and I come from Nordic Innovation. We are financed by the Nordic Council of Ministers and we are an intermediator organization. So our task is to facilitate collaboration around innovation and entrepreneurship in the Nordic region. And we work for the Vision 2030, the Nordic region to become the most sustainable and integrated region in the world. Green, competitive, and socially sound. This is a vision from our 5 Nordic prime ministers. And more than that, it's also a call for actions for all of us. And of course, as a member of the global community, we at the Nordic countries have to work on sustainability in dialogue with the rest of the world. Today, I would like to invite you to contribute to these targets and impact the future by keeping in mind sustainability when choosing your educational path or future career. If we strive for our region to become the most sustainable one, it means that we need to use our innovation power. And that again means that we need diverse pools of people in our educational institutions, organizations, and industries to be able to solve complex challenges with holistic approaches. in the Nordics, we often think that we have strong traditions for being equal societies, and that we do not need to work that hard for equality and diversity matters. But as we heard, unfortunately, that's not the case. When we look at the diversity of different educations and the related industrial sectors, we understand that we are behind both in diversity in general, but especially having women in STEM educations. This is the bad news for our innovation ecosystems, industries, and business environments. There is a serious lack of women in tech, especially among entrepreneurs. Last year, we made a study of female entrepreneurship in the Nordics, and it showed that women in tech have less access to role models, smaller networks than men, and this lack of contacts makes them less likely to proceed with their good innovative ideas. And when they do proceed, and when they want to grow their ideas to business, it is more difficult for women to access external funding compared to male entrepreneurs. This makes it much more difficult for women to expand their companies. Our collaboration partner, Unconventional Ventures, showed in their report also from last year that in 2019, from all the funds that were raised by entrepreneurs in the Nordic region, teams with all men raised 93%, mixed teams 6%, and all women teams only 1% of the funds. These are just few examples of obstacles that women in tech are experiencing. The conclusion is that we are not as equal as we tend to think. Now, I talk about gender equality, but of course this applies to diversity in a much broader sense. It's about all underrepresented groups. And my point with these sad facts is that if we really want to see a sustainable future, we need to change the situation. And you can be part of this change. We need more women to traditionally male-dominated sectors like science, tech, engineering, mathematics. And we need more men to enter sectors where we traditionally see more women. So we need to create a new, equal, and diverse normal. In this era of climate emergency, we all know, we sense the urgency to act. But with the need for green transition, we also have a golden opportunity to change our societies to become more equal and diverse, and give the boost to our innovation power to solve the challenges. The rapid digitalization and following opportunities are tools for us for the change making. For instance, the fast increasing use of artificial intelligence in our societies, also in decision making, demands more women in tech for us to ensure algorithms and digital designs that support equal, diverse, and thereby more sustainable future society. Today, you are going to meet great role models. Please listen to them, get inspired, and consider to become one. I wish you all a fantastic future. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. It's very interesting to hear both the Nordic approach, but also the fact that diversity goes both ways. So it's not just about bringing more women in tech, but also more men into female-dominant fields. But before you go, I would like to ask you a question. We have a lot of high schoolers on the line, maybe wondering what they will do after high school. And you also already mentioned sustainability as an important topic of today and maybe something to consider in your studies. But what would be your tip to those now wondering what they will do when they grow up?
I think that it's important to think what I want, how I can contribute to those values that are important for me. And I think that for all of us, as I said, the climate emergency and the way that we want to form the future is important. So I think that that's my tip. Listen to your heart. Wherever you go, you can contribute by living by the values that are important for you.
Thank you. There was actually one pre-question before the event, and the student was wondering if we consider tech to be a good field to be in if we want to have an impact on sustainability and climate change. I think that has been a bit clear already, but can you confirm this also?
Well, absolutely. I think that for the Nordic region, our competitive edge is the technology and the innovation mindset that we have. And maybe it comes from our kind of the northern part of the world that we are living. So we have a functionality in our genes and the kind of the Nordic design thinking way. And tech is part of that.
Yes, definitely. Well, thank you again, Nina.
Thank you.
Okay, let's continue. Have you ever wondered that what a space physicist do? Well, at least I have. Our next speaker, Professor Emilia Kilpua from the University of Helsinki, will provide us some insights from that very interesting field. There you go, Emilia.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'm now unmuted. Yes. Hello, and thanks for asking me to speak in this very, very nice event. I will share my screen. Yeah, I think you can now see the slide. Okay, so I put it here. So yeah, I'm Emilia Kilpua and I'm professor in space physics at the University of Helsinki. And I will talk about a little bit my career path in space physics. And I thought that I will first a little bit tell about very shortly about the field. So space physics, what is really meaning, it's kind of defined as the field where you in principle can make the direct measurement. And in practice, this basically mean the science that we are doing or exploring the phenomena in our solar system. So covering the sun, the planets, the solar wind, the sun is blowing from it continuously, and things causing auroras and things in the planetary magnetospheres, and all those that are kind of restricted in this bubble that our sun is like confining. So not interplanetary space, but things like that are kind of in that sense like relatively close to us. And sun is this big ball of plasma that is basically the ionized gas, and that is basically the most important tool in our field. And there are these big eruptions that are happening on the sun that are then propagating from the sun to the earth and other planets, and then they are disturbing our like this space environment, causing a lot of different effects for the satellites and also astronauts, and then having all kind of like these technological infrastructure effects like the so-called geomagnetically induced currents and things like that. But yeah, about how I got where I am now. So I'm originally from Oulu, from northern Finland, and I graduated there from the secondary school, so finished Lukio in 1996 from Oulun Lyceum Lukio. And then I came to study at the Helsinki University Physics. So here you can see the old physics department. It was in the almost city center of the Helsinki. And I started there doing theoretical physics as my major subject. And I didn't know at all that what I wanted to more specifically do within the physics at that time. And then I suddenly got to this plasma physics course, and then I was asked to do the summer internship at the Finnish Meteorological Institute. And then I just somehow got into the field, and still I'm on that same topic. So I felt that very, very interesting. I was maybe first more inclined or interested about those things that does not have much like practical application. But on the other hand, I like this field because it's kind of the combination of those like fundamental physics and also these like more concrete applications. And then in 2000, I got the master degrees from the University of Helsinki. And then I continued at the University of Helsinki also to do my doctoral degree that I finished in 2005. And I did some of these more extended visits during my PhD work. So I spent a few months at Max Planck Institute in Germany, and then Goddard Space Flight Center. And it was nice to have a lot of these travels where I was like presenting my research and then meeting a lot of these other young researchers in the field. So that was very, very nice time. And that also something now that I have my own PhD students, so I a lot of encourage them to kind of have this international interaction very early on. So even now when we cannot travel to do it by other means. And then usually when you finish PhD from the university in Finland, what is recommended that you are going to do so-called postdoctoral research period abroad. So you go from 1 to several years abroad and do research in some other environment, because it's very nice to see how people are doing things in the other places. So I spent 3 years in the Space Sciences Laboratory in University of California, Berkeley. This is the Berkeley campus, and the Space Sciences Laboratory was actually up in this hill here. So I was then it was this new space mission called Stereo that was consisting of 2 satellites that were both observing the sun at a little bit like different distances, and I was analyzing that data. And also it was very nice, whole our group in that place we got to see when this spacecraft was launched in 2006. And then I came back to Helsinki in 2008. I was first university postdoc, and then this Academy of Finland, they are providing these early career positions, and I got today 5-year academy fellowship from 2009 to 2015, and then I also had 1-year maternity leave in between. Then I was a little time at the university lecturer, and then finally got to this tenure track position in 2015. And what this tenure track is meaning, it's kind of this path to the professorship. So they have 3 levels, and then finally after about 10 years you can get to this full professorship that I got just last year. So I think this is kind of my first permanent position actually. And then what this doing this science consists of, and especially when you are developing more in your career path, it's actually very, very diverse work that you are doing. So there's of course this research that is something that I was kind of mainly thinking that I will do when I applied to study the physics, but it's much more diverse, and you really are developing a set of very diverse skills on the path. So I do also a lot of like student supervising that I kind of consider also as the research work, because we are doing research together. And then I have to do teaching. That's actually also very, very nice. I like that it's a little bit like time consuming, but it gives you a lot, and it gives you the more like in-depth understanding of your field. And it's nice that you can also like use like your research in your teaching. And then relating to the research, you are going to present your research result in different conferences and in the science visits and seminars, and at the same time you are hearing what the other people are doing in the field. And on the top of that, people are also, or I'm also like participating in organizing these conferences, and then doing outreach work, like for example what I'm doing now. And then there's this administrational things and project management and writing the research proposal. And yeah, this was one thing I wanted to mention, that these research visits are really nice. Last 2 years I spent 1 month in, actually it was 2018 and 2019. I spent 1 month in Paris doing the research with very nice professor there, Dominic Fontaine, and we did together the research, and then we are writing the papers about them and publishing them in the journals. And like you can see, there's a lot of people here involved in this order list from many different places. So it's really like a lot of teamwork. And that is actually something that people still, I think, find a little bit that like surprising, that if you are studying the physics, it's actually not so much independent work, but quite a lot of it's actually the teamwork and doing the work together. And also, like at least in our field, is very, very international. So in many of these studies, we have groups from all over the world participating. And also want to like emphasize this diverse set of the skills that are needed. So this is also the aspect that is making this kind of the degree and studying the physics very useful, because it's definitely not closing any doors, but opening. And especially if you like realize yourself that what all kind of the skills you are developing on the way. So not only the research skills, but skills needed also outside of the academia in many industrial fields. And then also what is nice is that every day is different. So it definitely is not the work that is same every day. And kind of you can find it almost as this like detective work. So you are finding the problems and then you are trying to solve them. Another aspect is also that there are quite a lot of these different things that you can kind of focus yourself. So in space physics, so you can do very theoretical work, or what I'm mainly doing, I'm doing the data analysis. So I'm taking data from the satellites and then I'm analyzing them using different programs, so coding some data analysis programs. And then you can do simulations. So we have very vast environment, and if we want to study that, the simulations are usually the best way to go. So that's also one thing many people are focusing on. And then there are these satellites. So in Finland, we are also contributing to the building of the satellite instruments, and now also our own satellites, these like small nano satellites. You might have been hearing that Finland has already several of them in space. And in the last, I would like to mention that this is my team. So you can see that there's quite many female there. So we are lucky to have the field that we have within the physics, that we have quite nice gender balance. It's not always like that in the abroad, but in Finland this has been very nice, that we have always had a lot of women in the field, and also to like very, very high position, so group leaders and team leaders. And these are some examples of the people who have been graduating from the University of Helsinki from the field of the space physics. So Minna Palmroth is the professor also at University of Helsinki, and she's leading the Center of Excellence in Research of Sustainable Space. Tuija Pulkkinen, she's now chair of the department at the University of Michigan. She was also leading the Finnish Meteorological Institute earlier. And then Noora Partamies, she's scientist at the Svalbard, that is quite cool, also literally. And Veera Silvius, she's the CEO in Space System Finland. And Katarina Nykyri, she's professor at the Embry-Riddle University in Florida. And this is my quite recent postdoc, Erika Palmerio. She just graduated and now she's doing her postdoc also actually at the same place that I was doing my postdoctoral period. And there's many more female in the space field. So this was the compilation I did a few years ago when it was Women Day, to just to kind of make this a little bit advertisement of the many female working in the field in Finland, and this is definitely not all of them, so there's many more. But yeah, thank you. That was all I had.
Thank you, Emilia. What an interesting field space physics can be. And it's also really nice to hear that in Finland, there's a good gender balance there.
Yeah.
Because as we heard, it's quite important for the team results as well. But before we let you go, I have a few questions. So first, if we could reflect back to when you were in high school, you said that when you started your studies in physics, you were not sure what you wanted to focus on. But when you were in high school, did you have a favorite subject or a subject that you didn't like as much as others?
I think I liked the physics and maths a lot in high school. And I think one thing was that it wasn't something that you need to kind of memorize. So you kind of, that was one thing I found it very, very like interesting. I was reading this kind of the popular physics books. So it felt like very like exciting, and a lot of these kind of the things we do not know and do not understand. So I think that was one of the reasons. For the least subject, I don't know if I remember anymore if I had anything that I particularly detested, but
yeah, thank you. And if there are students now considering a career in space physics or related to space, what would be your main advice to those people?
Yeah, I think studying math and physics at school is kind of that if you come to the university, that is, of course, something you need to do, but you don't have to be like any like super good in those things. So I think it's a lot of things that you are interested and you are ready to do the work. So
yeah, that's great advice. I think that's also one thing that we want to communicate to all of you listening today, that there are so many fields that you can be in, and you don't always have to be an expert when you start. And it's also okay to change your mind in some cases. So hopefully this will inspire you as well. So thank you again, Emilia.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on. Our next speaker is Paula Laitio from VERE. She's a top professional in the field of service design, and she has experience from very many different industries. So let's hear her story. Here you go, Paula.
Yes, good morning to everybody. Huomenta, good morning. I will share my screen for the presentation. And I still need to see Zoom. Okay, now I think it's working. So yes, my name is Paula Laitio, and as said, I work as a service designer, and I will now share how I ended up being a service designer and what does service design mean, or what can you do with that, and how does it relate to technology. So a little bit of my background. And this is where it started. So I actually started on a bit more technical path. I studied automation technology in Aalto University. And why did I go there? First of all, it was an obvious choice for me. I always enjoyed math and physics, and I was good at them. And also I had a lot of masters of science in my family and in my relatives. So it was a kind of, I knew what that was, and I knew cool people who had been studying there. So I thought that, okay, I will go there as well. Secondly, I thought that that would be a good place to find a husband, because there are a lot of cute guys probably. And my mom did find her husband there, and her mom did find her husband there. So I thought that, okay, that's what our family does. And that is actually my husband standing next to me in the picture in the middle. So I did find my husband from there. Why I chose automation technology, I just thought that, well, okay, robots are probably cool. I had seen them in some sci-fi movies or something, and I thought, okay, why not? I will be doing robots when I'm an adult. However, it turned out that my expectations were a bit different from the truth. So what I expected was these sci-fi movie kind of robots, or maybe some medical robots or these fake hands or something that you could use. But in the reality, what I got was a lot of coding and some factory lines and robots there that were not as cool as I thought they would be. So I understood quite quickly that those technology studies were actually a bit too technical for me, for a person like me. I would never excel in coding. I was like doing okay with that, but that was not something that I felt passionate about. And also those factories and factory robots, robot arms were actually quite boring and like didn't really speak to me. So at this point, I was a bit sort of worried that what will I become when I graduate? How can I use these studies if I don't want to code, or if I don't want to work with factory robots? And even though I enjoyed my studies, I enjoyed the friends I got from there and all the student life and everything. It was great. But somewhere in the back of my head, I was thinking like, is this the right place for me, or how can I use this information that I get from here? My first solution to this problem was IT consulting, which was quite nice. I got to solve problems of the clients, and I didn't need to go code. So yeah, I could somehow use my background in technology, but I didn't need to be super technical or do the actual coding. And at some point, I started to think more about the role of people in all that. IT consulting at that point, at least, was kind of technology oriented anyways. It was focusing on how to solve the problems with the technology at hand, but it didn't really answer to questions like, is it even a right problem to solve, or what would be the best possible solution for the people who are then using the system or using the technology. So that's where I got interested in user experience design and usability, stuff like that. But I didn't really know how to proceed with those aspirations. But I knew at that point that what I'm interested in is the interface between humans and technology, and how humans can benefit from technology in the best possible way, and how I can help in that. So then I found service design, and I would say that service design is my interface to technology and maybe even to the whole world. So during my second maternity leave, I was bored at my current job, and I thought that, okay, I want to do something different when I come back from the maternity leave. And then by accident, I got an ad in Facebook that was advertising this innovative digital services of the future education in Laura. So I thought, yeah, this sounds really interesting. I don't know what service design is that was mentioned in the ad, but sounds really cool. Sounds exactly what I want to do. And when I got in, and when I started the studies, I was like totally amazed, like, yes, this is exactly what I want to do. This is my place. And this has been something that I have been looking for throughout my career and my previous studies and everything. So kind of all the pieces in the puzzle just went together in this education. And then I was still working at Fluido when I started my studies, or I was in maternity leave, but I came back to that company, and I used to be a business consultant there. But then I told them that, hey, I studied this new thing called service design. It's really cool. Can I do that? And then my my superiors there were really like positive about it, and they were, yeah, sure, show us what it is, how to do it, how we can apply it. And that's when I started to call myself a service designer. I was like, in the beginning of my studies, I was in a really early phase. I didn't know a lot myself either, but I was so excited about it that I instantly wanted to apply it in my job. And it went good. Everybody was excited. Our customers were excited. So it turned out great. However, because I was the most experienced service designer at Fluido, and I knew that I'm not at all experienced. I was like directly from the school, even like in between my studies. So I thought that, okay, I want to work at a place where other people also know service design and I can learn from others as well. It wasn't that easy to get the job, the next job, because as said, I didn't have a lot of experience, but Wärtsilä believed in me. So I got to join their internal IT team and do service design for their internal IT services, digital services. And I spent a year there, and it was great. I learned a lot, and it was the perfect next step in my career. And then very recently, in last November, I started at this VERE, which is a small design agency. And I don't even know how they found me. They just called me that do I want to work there? And I was like, okay, sure. How do you know anything about me? But apparently I had done something right at some point, and somebody happened to think that I'm a good service designer. So here I am in my dream job at VERE. A little bit about what is service design in general. So first of all, I would say that service design is a way to solve problems. It is very human-centered and co-creative, meaning that you bring different people together to create things together. It's iterative and agile. You do things kind of fast-paced, but you can also always go back and do something again in a different way. And it offers you a set of tools and methods that generate common understanding. In my group discussion, I will give more insights about those methods. Secondly, it is a way to do business. So if we think that here at the bottom, we have the company and its core business, the products or services that it's offering. And here at the top, we have the user or customer who wants to buy something from that company. Then all these layers are in between the actual core service and the customer. And service design is also about aligning these layers, making sure that everything between the core service and the customer is working and is kind of aligned with all other layers. And the goal of service design is obviously to create value for the customer, but also for the company and for other stakeholders that are somehow related to the business. And third, and maybe the most important thing, is that service design is really a mindset. So it is a way of thinking where you balance between the human needs, the business relevance, and technological opportunities. And in the center, you have the sweet spot where all these meet. And in the future, service design will be also not only about designing services, but it will affect our behavior and experience, the culture and society we live in. So service design or design thinking methods can be used everywhere in the society. Then still shortly, what service design has to do with technology. So of course, if you are creating a digital service, for example, a mobile application, then that has a lot of technology in it, but you also need to use some service design to make sure that the application can be used by people and people want to use it and it's beneficial for them, it solves a real problem. Then it can be that a physical service has a digital touch point, for example, an online booking for a restaurant or for a hairdresser. The service itself, cutting your hair, is really physical. You can't do it online, but you can book your time there online. You can get these notifications and everything. So that's also where service design and technology go hand in hand. And finally, if your service has any technical component, for example, a self-driving bus, or for example, these electric scooters, if you create a service around them, you need the app, of course, to booking them, but you also need to understand how the scooters work, and can you use them during winter, how much battery life does it have, and such things. So in many places, some technology is used in a service, and if service design is used for creating that service, then you need to also address those technology issues or capabilities. Yeah, so that was my presentation about how I entered the world of service design, and then what service design is and what you can do with it related to technology.
Thank you, Paula. What a versatile field you have found in service design. And I think that your example was also very good in the sense that if you choose tech and you decide that maybe you don't want to code or do the more technical side, there are a lot of things you can do to kind of take use of that tech background and be in consulting or in areas like service design. So it's completely okay to also change course a bit after you have started something.
Yes, definitely.
Was that an easy decision for you to make, to kind of change course after your studies in tech?
For me, it was yes, because I'm a person who really enjoys learning new things. So I was anyways like thinking that I would like to study something more. And then when I found the field of service design, it was so obvious that, okay, this is really like what I want to do. So I didn't hesitate at all.
That's great to hear. And just to add, if anyone has questions for Paula or our other speakers, you can still use the chat or the menti.com, and you can ask in Finnish or Swedish or English as well. So there's no limits for the language here. But from Paula, I would like to also know, who would you recommend this type of work and field to? Like, what kind of person might most likely enjoy service design?
Well, I think first of all, you need to be quite curious, interested in different things, also interested in different people and kind of understanding their world. That would be maybe the topmost thing that I would say. Then, of course, if you like problem solving, you like challenges, you might be a visual person who likes to draw things, that could be helpful. Or then something you would also need would be to interact with people and be able to, for example, facilitate workshops and help people reach a solution together. So some team leading skills or similar to that.
Yeah, I think that what I also enjoy about areas like service design is that it's so an easy way to compile different things together, and you need creativity and you can work with people, and it's just a really good mixture of things, in my opinion.
Yes, that's a good point. Like, I'm a person who doesn't have like one single path or passion, so I want to do a lot of different things, and service design is perfect for that.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you, Paula. And some of you will also be joining Paula's group discussion later, so you will meet her there. But for now, we are a bit ahead of schedule, but we will have a break. So now during the break, you can chill, you can watch our main sponsor videos that are going through in this Zoom meeting during the break, but we will meet back here at 10 sharp. And again, you are still free to ask questions during the event. After the event, we will get back to you if something is left unanswered. So we will see you here in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back from the break. We will continue immediately with our program. So, do you know what the marketing specialist has to do with the robotics? Our next speaker knows all about it. She is Heli Pirhonen, and she works as a marketing specialist in the robotics division in ABB. Helin esitelmä on suomeksi, mutta kysymyksiä voitte esittää juuri sillä kielellä, mikä teille sopivimmilta tuntuu. Ole hyvä, Heli.
No niin, hyvää huomenta. Kuuluu ja näkyy toivottavasti kaikki. Hienoa. Joo, olen siis Pirhosen Heli ja tuolta APP:ltä Helsingistä ja mun työtehtäviin kuuluu markkinointiviestintä robotics-yksikössä ja kotimaan myynnissä työskentelen. Ja miten sitten on päätynyt APP:lle töihin ja varsinkin tekniikan alalle? Mä oon ylioppilas vuodelta 1993 ja Kiteen lukiosta. Ja Kite on pieni paikkakunta tuolla Itä-Suomessa Venäjän rajalla. Ja lukioaikana en todellakaan olisi uskonut tai siinä vaiheessa ei vielä ollut haaveena, että työskentelisin nimenomaan tekniikan alalla. Ja Kite on pieni paikkakunta, tunnetaan Nightwishista ja pesäpallosta. Mutta sitten erinäisten käänteiden kautta päädyin Tampereelle opiskelemaan markkinointiviestintää ja minusta tuli tradenomi Tampereen ammattikorkeakoulusta ja sitten jossain vaiheessa työuraa niin töiden ohella opiskelin vielä yhteisöviestinnän erikoistumisopintoja Tampereen ammattikorkeakoulussa. Ja tosiaan päivääkään en ole teknistä alaa opiskellut, mutta siitä huolimatta työskentelen teknisellä alalla. Ja mun työpaikkoja, missä mä oon ollut töissä, niin on Patria, puolustusteknologian yritys, sitten olin IT-alalla Cybercom Groupissa, Metso Automationilla ja nyt sitten 2013 vuodesta asti APP Oy:llä. Eli tällainen matka on kuljettu ja eteenpäin mennään. Ja ihan muutamalla sanalla APP:stä Suomessa. Eli APP:llä on suunnittelua, valmistusta ja huoltoliiketoimintaa ympäri Suomea. Pääpaikkakuntina Helsinki, jossa on moottoreita, generaattoreja ja taajuusmuuttajia. Vuosaaressa muun muassa Atsipodeja, Vaasassa moottoreita ja sitten Porvoossa asennustuotteita. Ja en nyt lähde sen tarkemmin organisaatiokaavioita esittelemään, mutta electrification, process automation, motion ja robotics on meidän bisnekset. Ja tässä tosiaan nuo tuotantokeskittymät, eli ympäri Suomea löytyy APP:tä. Meillä on noin 5000 työntekijää ja kesätyöntekijöitäkin on 800 joka kesä ja todella paljon erilaisia uramahdollisuuksia. Ja meidän tuotteita löytyy maalta, mereltä ja ilmasta ja viimeisimmän tiedon mukaan myös Marsista. Ja jossain vaiheessa tuossa mietin, että tekniikan alalla työskentely niin saattaa kuulostaa sellaiselta aika kovalta alalta. Mutta ja sitten mietin sitä, että tämmöisessä suuremmassa kuvassa, että mikä merkitys sillä omalla työllä on. Ja meillä ainakin APP:llä niin tämä kestävä kehitys on erittäin tärkeänä osana meidän strategiaa. Ja tällaisia pitkän aikavälin tavoitteita tuonne vuoteen 2030 asti on kasvihuonepäästöjen leikkaaminen edistetään kiertotaloutta ja toimitaan oikein ja läpinäkyvästi ja arvostetaan ihmisiä. Et se ei ole pelkästään se palkka tai asema tai titteli, vaan sillä omalla työllä on oikeasti merkitystä tämmöisessä vähän suuremmassakin kuvassa. No sitten roboteista. Minulla on täällä työkaverina tällainen jumirobotti. Ja meidän robotteja, jumeja ja muitakin löytyy autoteollisuudesta, ruoka- ja juomateollisuudesta, lääketeollisuudesta, valimokonepaja, metalli, hitsaava teollisuus, muoviteollisuus, puuteollisuus, elektroniikkateollisuus, maalaus, liimaus, pintakäsittely, pakkaus ja materiaalien käsittely. Eli hyvin monipuolisesti eri teollisuuden aloilta. No sitten, minkälainen mun tehtävän kuva on? Niin kuin sanoin tuossa aikaisemmin, niin varsinaisesti tekniikkaa en ole itse opiskellut, että olen painottunut tuonne markkinoinnin ja viestinnän puolelle. Mutta tekniikan alallakin on erilaisia urapolkuja ja työmahdollisuuksia. Mun tällaisia ihan konkreettisia tehtäviä on esimerkiksi artikkelituotantoja erilaisiin julkaisuihin. Tuossa näkyy tuollainen teollisuusrobotti taipuu yhteistyöhön ihmisen kanssa, niin se julkaistiin tuossa viime vuoden loppupuolella Automaatioväylä-lehdessä. Siinä on JAMKin edustaja mukana. Sitten meiltä globaalista putkesta tulee paljon uutisia, joita sitten käännetään paikalliselle kielelle. Sitten tehdään kohdennettuja ulkoisia uutiskirjeitä, sisäistä viestintää, sidosryhmäviestintää, päivitän ja teen nettisivuja, järjestän webinaareja ja tässä viime aikoina erityisesti virtuaalitapahtumia. Aikaisemmin on ollut ihan live-messuja, somemarkkinointia. Viime vuonna opettelin todella paljon markkinointiautomaatiosta, kaikkea uutta. Ja sitten tätä yhteistyötä myös meidän sisäisten sidosryhmien kanssa. Ja tässä kohtaa on pakko käyttää tällainen pieni mainospätkä myös hyväksi. Eli tuossa oikealla näkyy esityksessä, että tänään on tällainen virtuaalitapahtuma, joka alkoi juurikin nyt kello 10. Se tulee livenä tuolta Zürihistä meidän pääkonttorilta. Julkaistaan pari kappaletta uusia yhteistyörobottimalleja. Ja te olette nyt tässä ensimmäisten joukossa, ketkä kuulee näiden uusien robottimallien nimet. Eli kun mulla tässä tuo Jumi oli äsken kaverina, niin nyt sieltä tulee Gofa ja Swifti. Eli todennäköisesti tuolla sosiaalisen median kanavissa ja lehdissä tänään puhutaan APP:stä ja uusista yhteistyöroboteista. Ja tässä lanseerauskampanjassa on globaalisti ja paikallisesti saanut olla mukana toteuttamassa sitä. Todella mielenkiintoinen projekti. Tuossa aikaisemmin mainitsin, että meillä on Suomessa 5000 työntekijää ja kesäisinkin 800 kesätyöntekijää. Ja tässä pieni pätkä näistä meidän kesätyöharjoittelu- ja lopputyöpaikoista. Ja tuossa on nettilinkki, missä voi käydä katsomassa, minkälaisia uramahdollisuuksia ja harjoittelupaikkoja meillä on. Ja vaikka lukemassa näistä meidän kesätyöntekijöistä, minkälaisia kokemuksia heillä on APP:stä ja tekniikan alasta. Sitten mä haluaisin näyttää teille videon tästä mun Jumi-kaverista, joka tuossa viime vuonna täytti 5 vuotta. Aha. No niin. Eli näin. Kiitoksia.
Thank you. Kiitos Heli. Thank you. Tack. How great to hear how marketing also relates to robotics and what kind of innovations you have on that side just being launched or announced today. Vielä muutama kysymys sulle. Eli meitä kiinnostaisi tietää vähän, että miltä susta tuntuu työskennellä tuommoisessa tosi teknisellä alalla, tosi teknisessä firmassa, kaupallisella taustalla tuolla markkinointipuolella. Millaista se on?
No se on tosi mielenkiintoista, että niin kuin sanoin, niin on monenlaisia erilaisia urapolkuja ja työtehtäviä, että kaikesta ei tarvitse tietää kaikkea, mutta ehkä tärkeintä on se sellainen uteliaisuus ja tiedonetsintäkyky, että tiedät, että mistä lähdet etsimään tietoa. Ja sitten meillä on tekniset asiantuntijat, jotka osaa teknisen puolen ja näin, ja mulla on sitten se markkinointiviestintä.
Yes, kiitos. So I was just asking Heli how she feels about working in a technical field with the commercial background, and she says it's very interesting and they do have technical experts to support with the technical details, and mostly it requires curiosity and being able to find out information that relates to the work. And for those who were wondering about the language, if necessary and when necessary, we will also send the recordings to you a few weeks after the event, and we will add subtitles for those who may not have had Finnish as a first language. So you will also be hearing more about Heli at that time. But there was one question also from the audience. So the question is, do you have any advice for someone who is interested in robotics but doesn't know where to start? Eli olisiko sulla vinkkejä robotiikasta kiinnostuneille? Että millaisia esimerkiksi koulutustaustoja teillä on teknisillä osastoilla?
No, teknistä korkeakoulua, ammattikorkeakoulua, eli mekin tehdään tosi paljon yhteistyötä oppilaitosten kanssa. Eli sitä kautta varmasti.
Yes, as we've been discussing before, there are many different fields of tech that relate to a lot of different topics. So I think that there are many different fields that you can start with if you're interested in robotics. But yeah, technical universities and universities of applied sciences are a good place to start your search. Thank you, Heli.
Kiitos.
Okay, so our next speaker is a professional in a field what is somehow familiar for all of us, and this field is gaming industry. And I'm very pleased to give the stage for Essi Jukkala. Essi works as a lead game developer in a company called Wonder Shop. Please go ahead, Essi.
All right, I hope you can see my presentation and everything works.
Yes.
So my name is Essi Jukkala. I've just last spring graduated as a Master of Science in Technology from Aalto University, and as they kindly introduced me, I work as a lead game developer in a new gaming studio called Wonder Shop. But what I will tell you today is how I ended up in here. It might not be the most usual career, or you might wonder how you end up as a game developer. So I'll tell you a bit about my career story. So in high school, I liked mathematics, physics, psychology. I studied, of course, also music and photography. They were my hobbies also. What I liked really about mathematics is the problem solving, that feeling when you get a really long exercise finally done and correct. That felt really, really good. And in physics, it was really cool to see how this math can then be applied to this real world problems and real world phenomena to model them. For me, I thought chemistry was a bit boring, so I quit that after 2 courses and I took visual arts instead. I think that was a good choice in the end, but might not feel that way in high school, but I skipped chemistry. And I was really interested in psychology too. I was really interested in seeing how people kind of process data and learn things, but I didn't quite know what I could do with that. So if I would want to kind of study that after high school, so would I become a psychologist or something? So I was kind of unsure and didn't pursue that further. And yeah, the music and the visual arts, especially the photography, nicely balanced that very otherwise sciencey courses that I studied. So then there's this nice picture of in high school, you kind of always come up with this nice goal. So it was a bit hard for me at first, what I would want to kind of study after high school when I graduated from high school. I had my options going from like photography or being a maths teacher or everything in between. And my friends mostly headed to study like economics or medicine, but I wasn't interested in those topics. So after some thinking, I decided that I would want to study acoustics and audio processing. This would be my thing. All right, so then I found out that you need to study electronics and electrical engineering in some university first. So this led me to study those topics in Aalto University. Well, of course, the path is a bit long. So before getting to study the acoustics themselves, I had a course, of course, start with the engineering mathematics and physics and the basics of electrical engineering. So I realized that it would be a really long way to the acoustics and a lot to study before I'd get to the actually interesting stuff. So suddenly the student life and other topics started to be more interesting than the basics of electrical engineering. Although those are interesting topics too, not for me. So during the first year, I also studied basics of programming, which made me realize that this programming is actually much more fun than those electronics. So I decided to switch. So studying programming led me to computer graphics. And after that, I started studying game design and production. In computer graphics, it made me realize that it was really cool that I could actually draw real 3D things on my display with my own code. And then the game design and production was my choice for my master studies, as I realized that there I can combine my interest and in everything nice and visual with the programming topics. So in the university, I first studied, of course, computer science. In the bachelor's, all the kind of programming and algorithms and everything like that. And then game design and production in the master's. And what was the most useful thing in the end that I learned is how I learn, this learning to learn that people talk a lot about. And this nowadays I know how I should study new topics and how I actually can retain the knowledge. And also I got really, really many good friends. So without these friends, I couldn't have done my studies. And the best thing still maybe during my studies were all the extracurricular activities, the sense of community and all the new friends, we kind of working together and solving all the hard problems together. Then how did I end up in games? So I've always kind of liked games, but I didn't think or didn't even realize you could actually make games for a living. So I always had the kind of games as a hobby. I played during the university times too, but then I started to realize that actually, hey, this programming, you need that for the games. So now I work in the games industry as a programmer. Now I'm making this game that combines the real world with the digital world. We hope to make an impact with gaming in the less privileged communities, helping kids, hopefully this way. And the best thing I get to do daily is solving different kinds of problems and seeing the effects of my work. I work as the only programmer at the moment in our project. So really everything that I do makes a difference. It's also nice, a certain kind of creativity is needed when starting to making these game ideas into an actual game. I get to kind of imagine how I built this idea into a working product. And especially in the gaming industry and small companies, I think the most important thing is the attitude. We don't think if something is possible, but just how we can actually solve and do this and how we can learn new things. I think that's one of the key things in the industry. So why should you pick a career in the technology field, maybe in gaming, maybe in robotics, whatever? I think most interesting things are that there are always new challenges and more to learn in tech. Tech is also needed for solving problems and to create new innovations. For example, of course, with this growing digitalization that we've all taken this huge leap now during the Corona times, or maybe even solving climate change, how we will actually deal with that in the near future. Studying tech also gives you a really good basis for many kinds of roles in the working life. Even though I work as a programmer nowadays, I could easily also work as some kind of a manager, planning person, even designer. So it doesn't limit me. I don't have to do just programming for the rest of my life. And in tech, you always get to use your your best skills. You get to apply them and adapt them for the task at hand. So you really get to lean on your strengths. And most importantly, of course, the tech industry needs us all. Different points of view and diverse backgrounds make new thoughts and innovations really possible. So if it's only the boys who go to the tech, well, that's not as good as if everyone goes to tech. So do it. All right. I think that was my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you, Essi. Great to hear once again that it's not always a straight path to your future career, but also that there's room for creativity and arts in the game design world. Let's see about the questions. So I was at least wondering, what kind of games do you prefer nowadays, or did you have a favorite game growing up?
Well, my ultimate favorite game when I grew up was Super Mario Bros. On the NES console. That's my first gaming memory, and I go back to it every now and then. And well, nowadays, as I don't have that much time, I play on mobile, different games, but I also really like to just sometimes go to my computer and play the AAA games. I played Witcher now lately, so I play everything.
I guess you're in the right field then.
Yes.
Thank you. Could you describe a typical working day for you? What kind of tasks are usually included in what you do?
Yeah, so typically my working day, I start usually around 10. I'm a better night owl, so I don't have to start at 8. We catch up with our teammates, what's everyone doing during their day, and if they need any help. And usually then I have some tasks, so different game features. For example, I was developing these quests for the game. So I need to specify what kind of data I need, and then how do I use the data to actually make these features possible. So then I start coding.
Okay. There's a question from the audience on how long does it take to make a game? So how long in time does it take?
Well, that's a good question. The shortest period of time I've seen games being made is maybe some hours. Of course, those are really simple games. Game jams usually last for a weekend, and they provide some kind of games, of course, really short and just prototypes. And then, of course, like making a mobile game might take 1 year or 2 years, and then making something like Witcher or Cyberpunk might take close to 10 years even. So the time frame is really big and depends on the project you're working on.
Okay. How would you recommend someone could start learning programming and coding?
Well, there are a lot of good online courses nowadays, especially Helsinki University offers this Basics of Programming course free for everyone. I think that's one good point to start. When you learn the basics of programming in one language, then you are ready to go for any other language or technology. So after that, then you could pick up Unity and start doing games with Unity. And of course, if you are really interested in games, you can just go to Unity straight away, but that might be a bit more difficult.
Okay, thanks for the tip. And there is actually one group discussion that is soon launching related to game design as well. So some of you will be continuing there with a member from Platonic Partnership. But let's continue there. So thank you again, Essi.
Thank you.
Okay, so now it's almost time for the breakout rooms. Those who pre-registered to the event have been able to select their top 3 choices, or actually top 9, but you will be divided into one of the top 3 that you chose. You will be moved to the rooms automatically. Same goes for all our facilitators and all the group discussion leaders. But if you are not put in the room automatically, you can select the correct room from the breakout room icon in the below in the Zoom. If you need help with that, or if you're unsure, you can stay here or come back to here and ask for help. But we will start doing that now. I encourage you to all be active in the rooms, ask questions, take part in the conversations. There are a lot of things you can learn. And there are no dumb questions again. But we will meet back here in about an hour, and you will be moved here also automatically, so you don't have to worry about that. And while we are now dividing the rooms, I can already tell you what the rooms will be about. So we have one group related to sustainable space and space technology. There we have Heidi Kuusiniemi and Johanna Haveri, who work at the University of Vaasa and the Kvarken Space Center. Then we have a group related to the job opportunities in the Kvarken region, where we have Triin Varpladet from Merinova and Reija Harmlov from COSEC. Then we have Paula, who we met earlier, talking about service design. And then we have the intro to game design room, where Jussi Loukiainen from Platonic Partnerships will be giving you a few tips and broadening your horizons on that topic. Then we have Sanna Hautamaa from Westenergy. The group name is When Everything is Interesting, so kind of giving you perspective what different things you can combine with tech and what things you can study that you may have not considered when it comes to tech. Then we have a group from Vaasa University, Become an Agent of Change, where you can discuss the opportunities that the university has to offer. We have a group called Robotics Process Automation, what is it and how to get started, with Wärtsilä's Visa Ekblom. You will be hearing tips on that. And then we have a group Work in the Nordics from NEEN and VEPIC. NEEN is the Nordic Energy Equality Network, and you will hear a few career stories at least. Then we have the last group from VAMK, which is Parasta aikaa VAMKissa, where you can hear opportunities from the environmental technology and IT departments. But again, if someone is still left without a room, you can select one of your top 3 choices from the below button, or you can ask for help here. And the same goes for those who are leading the group discussions. So if you find yourself in a wrong room, or if you are not assigned, that is because you have a different email in Zoom that you had registered with. So you can select your own room, or you can ask for help in the chat here.
Okay, welcome back to the shared session. I hope that you had a very good and insightful discussions in your group. And we continue with the program. So it is time to introduce our last but not least speaker. She is Business Development Manager Pirjo Jantunen from Helen. Based on her acknowledged expertise and experiences, she really knows what it means to work in the energy field. So let's hear her story. Go ahead, Pirjo.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Okay, great. So great to have you, so many of you here today. And I hope you have had an interesting and insightful morning. I work for Helen, which is the 2nd biggest energy company in Finland. And the company produces and sells to customers heat, electricity, and energy-related services as well. And I'm going to tell you a little bit what's happening in the energy sector and why you should also join and study something that you could end up working for energy sector. So And myself, I'll tell a bit more about me in the end of the presentation, but I start from the most interesting part. So what's happening in the sector? So first of all, as you all know, climate crisis is here. It's happening. The temperature levels all around the globe are increasing, and we really need to do something for it. In this picture, you see global carbon emissions and different predictions of what will happen. So the increase has been steady, and we really need to crucially decrease emissions in order to prevent the dramatic impacts it has. So carbon emissions are increasing, and where do they come from? Most of them come from energy sector. And this is important to notice. There are other important sectors as well, for example, agriculture, but the major role is energy production, transportation. And that leads to my claim is that if climate crisis is about to be solved, it will happen in the energy sector. So it is really important what we do in the field of energy. There are other megatrends shaping the future of energy as well. Climate crisis is the most important one from my point of view. Then there is urbanization as well. All around the globe, mega cities are growing and growing. And also in Finland, there are cities which are growing and countryside which is getting smaller in terms of population. What's also interesting is new technologies that are developing. I see two different type of technologies which are important. New technology development in the energy production. For example, wind power. Windmills are bigger and more efficient all the time. And then, for example, geothermal. When I was studying, when I was at school, I was taught that there's no geothermal energy in Finland, which was true back in the days, because there was no technology that the geothermal energy could be utilized. We weren't able to drill that deep holes. But due to the technology development, mainly shale oil boom, shale gas boom in US, the drilling technologies have developed a lot. And now there's a pilot project, not my company, but other company, and they are drilling up to 6 or 7 kilometers in Espoo, Otaniemi. So there's a big technology development on that field. The other side is digital technologies, for example, different kind of software, different kind of apps, which enable us to develop new services to customers so that it's easier to optimize their energy use, for example. So a lot of opportunities coming to these megatrends as well. The energy system is in big transition. In this picture, you see the traditional energy system, which is not there anymore, but how it used to be. So there's energy production, then there's transmission and distribution, and then it's customers. So it's one-sided, it's simple, and it's quite easy to describe. In this picture, you see where we are already now and where we are going. I call it hybrid energy system, where there's production, wind power especially increasing, but there's also production in buildings, in households, for example, PV panels, solar panels and rooftop, and geothermal energy or geoenergy in buildings. And there's storages, there's electric cars, which can be charged and decharged to network. So it's much more complex. It's two-sided, and customers are much more involved. So we are going to more decentralized system all the time. So based on this, we can say that business as usual in the energy companies is not an option anymore. So we have to change a lot what is happening. And I see that's also really interesting if you consider working or studying energy related fields. What comes to my company, Helen, we aim to have carbon neutral energy production by 2035. We still have quite a lot of fossil fuel capacity. So we are building a lot more production, which is renewable or low carbon. So the complete energy mix will change. Another important target is that we aim to build new business from renewable energy, for example, solar panels you see in the picture, electrification, for example, EVs, so electric cars, and energy efficiency. So it's not just selling power, selling heat, but selling services, for example, solar plant as a service or solar plant as such. So I would say the future of energy, it will be different than it was, and we are already moving towards this direction quite rapidly. So it will be low carbon for sure. It will be renewing, so there will be new technologies, but also new ways of working, new services to customers. Customers will be more central role, and it will be diverse and more diverse than it is now, and diverse in quite many viewpoints. So the energy mix will be more diverse, the workforce will be more diverse, the ways of working will be more diverse. So it's really interesting times to work at the sector. From energy to me, I wouldn't say that I have a typical path to work at energy company. So first of all, I'm a riding instructor, and I've also worked as a riding instructor a few years. Then I studied to be environmental planner, so I studied sustainable development. And then I started to work at Helen as environmental assistant and then environmental advisor. And year by year, my tasks moved on to more towards corporate social responsibility. So not just environmental, even though it was the part of my work all the time. So sustainable energy, climate crisis, low carbon emissions, emission decreasing, and so on. During working in the company, I studied Master of Science in Economics and Business Administration in University of Wärtsilä. And then now I work as Business Development Manager. So I'm developing new services to buildings, mainly energy efficiency services and building specific heating solutions, so ground sourced heat specifically. And if you think what you should study next or where you could go in your career, I have never made a concrete career plan. So if you still don't know where you will be, that's totally okay. And based on what I've been doing, you can also end up in interesting places without exact plan. But there's a lot of interesting opportunities in the field of climate crisis, for example, in renewing the energy system. So there's a lot of planning the energy production sites, for example, planning how to increase energy efficiency in power plants, but also in buildings, then electrification, for example, EV services, and sector integration, how to integrate heating and power and buildings and mobility sectors all together. For example, how to develop electricity grids all over the country, for example. So a lot of work in engineering side, for example. Then future technologies offer a lot of opportunities too, for example, digital technologies. So we need a lot of IT professionals for that. Customer solutions, for example, user experience professionals, wind power technologies, and then future business. It's not all about tech, but it's also business. So sales, someone needs to sell those solar plants, for example, market them, develop services around those, procure them from different countries, for example, develop data so that we can create better services, for example. And then future work too. So in the future, you need more collaboration skills. You need to learn all the time because the sector is developing, and you need to innovate and also renew companies from inside and outside too. So there's a lot of opportunities, and studying science and tech and engineering and mathematics is good way to end up working in the energy sector. And most of the people in my company have that mainly engineering background, but also without engineering background, there's a lot of more and more possibilities in the sector. So it doesn't limit it. But it gives more opportunities if you have, for example, engineering background. So I would really recommend joining the energy sector, because there you can actually do a work that matters for our future. So let's join forces, as our slogan says. Thank you.
Thank you, Pirjo. Very important points related to the climate crisis and sustainability, but also great to hear how energy is a field where you can easily create change, and how it's changing already. So we definitely need new talents there as well. But then let's see if there are any questions from the audience. Well, I would like to ask you, what do you think is the best part of your job currently?
The best part of my job, I think it's creating new, and also creating new with other people. So I think the best thing is that when professionals with different kind of expertise are together brainstorming something and come up with a solution that we can actually solve the problem in hand.
Yes, that's very true. What about if you could go back to high school now? Would you choose the same study path, or would you do something different?
Well, that's something I didn't mention. I never went to high school, so I don't know. But I see I've always taken the path that sounds interesting. So I wanted to be with horses, so I went to study a riding instructor. And then I was interested in sustainable development, and I went there. If you study something I've been doing, like sustainability, and in business school corporate environmental management, it's not like you go and study to be a medical doctor, but you study something interesting, and then there's no clear path ahead. So you have to create your own path, which gives you possibilities, but also it's kind of unsure that, okay, where could I go and work? So I think for me, I'm really generalist. I'm not specialist in any field, but more a generalist. That's quite good way to do it. But some people want to have more like structured and formal way to go. So I wouldn't change anything, but maybe I would be more relaxed, than not that worried that the future will be okay, even though it's not clear.
Yeah, I think many of us can relate to that. That as we get older, we kind of realize that there are so many paths to the same place that it doesn't really matter if you take a few turns in the way. Thank you, Piri. But next, we are almost running out of time. So now it's time for the end feedback survey. There will be another link in the Zoom chat that you can use. There's also the QR code that will be coming up to the screen now. And you can also use the direct address. Again, you will participate in the raffle if you also answer to this questionnaire and share us your thoughts. This is also a good way to have an impact for future events, to tell us how you felt, what was good, what could be improved, and what did you think in general. So please take some time to answer this. It's also quite short, so it doesn't take more than a few minutes. And while you are doing that, I'm going to say what we're doing next as well. So we are taking a group picture. So anyone here who can and is willing, would be great if you could open your webcam for a little while. You will all be just small screens in in the background, but that we can get a nice group picture that we can send to your schools as well. So you can do that while we are filling the questionnaire, and then we will just take a screenshot of the people here. It doesn't matter if you're in your pajamas at home, that's completely fine these days. Great, so many faces already. Thank you. Okay, now we can all smile, or if you're wearing a mask, smile with your eyes, that's also fine. Taking the picture now. Great, thank you. And hope you had the time to also answer the questionnaire. That will also be sent to you after the event in case you didn't get the link or you didn't have time. But please answer it as soon as possible because we will be holding the raffle based on those answers and notifying the winner personally via email. So again, do check your email tomorrow as well in case you won.
Yes, few words until we finish. So we gathered today to this event in order to talk about tech and in order to show you that tech field is full of interesting career opportunities for you and especially for women. We also hope that these presentations and group discussions, they gave you new insights and information which help you to answer the questions that would I like to be a tech professional in the future? So from my side, many thanks for joining this event.
Yes, thank you. One question that came in the comments was also that what kind of opportunities are there in engineering? In general, I can say that there are countless opportunities in engineering. And like we heard today, even if you study tech, you can work in different roles like consulting, service design, management, whatever you desire after your studies. So it's not binding you to anything if you choose any field in tech. But since we are now coming to an end at this event, I would like to thank you all for attending. Thank you to our partners, our sponsors, our great speakers, and the people who were so helpful with the group discussions and showed us their expertise in there. Thank you to my co-host Karita as well. Thank you for joining us. And thank you to all the teachers and the schools who were a part of today. You really made this event happen, and we were so happy to see so many of you here today. You will be receiving the recorded speeches of this event later on in about a few weeks. We will add subtitles to the ones that were in Finnish, and if there were any questions in Finnish, so that you will be able to look through that as well. On those emails, we will also notify the first name of the raffle winner, so you will also get the information on that has been decided already. But for now, thank you all and have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.